Are you ready? Can crush us. It don't really get no better than this the podcast that you're looking for if you're really heavy into wrestling. Hosted by the Mark. Energy that's so amazing. Gotta keep it entertaining. Rep the Can Crusher Nation. Yeah, you know what's going down in the ring. Lights out when you hit a ding ding. Knock 'em out like boom bada bing. Hold it down, you can crown me the king. Gotta shout out to the Miz and Duke the Dumpster. We choke slamming everybody. Power driving, hit 'em with a face buster. Yeah, this the show you need and it ain't no need for waiting. Mark, hold it down for the Can Crusher Nation. All about wrestling and keep it entertaining. Can Crushers Wrestling Podcast. Time to break 'em, let's go. Yeah. Can Crushers. Yeah. Can Crushers, let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back to Can Crushers Wrestling Podcast, the Spotlight Edition. I'm your host, Mark the Mark Martinez, and today I have on the show wrestling's best musical diva, the fighting siren, Shalonce Royale. I probably did not do that as well as she will. So I'm not going to tell her I did this until she listens to the podcast because I don't want her to criticize me on the interview. So when she listens, I'm sure I'll get a text or an Instagram back. She is the IWA Belladonna's champion right now. She actually defended that or was in a match for it on the 16th. You know, right now is the 20th. Guys, it's on Fight on the 30th, so make sure you go check that out. She battles Ray Lynn. But she also has been brought up from my guest last week. Gemma Jules brings her name up. And there's a little bit of hatred between these two. So we have to start fast and furious with the interview and find out what's really up with these two. Yeah, Shalonce Royale, guys, coming on the show. I can't wait to find out anything and everything about her. So, yeah, we're going to get right into it, but we have to take care of some stuff. Collar and elbow. Hats, hoodies, tees, all the cool stuff that Al Snow and his band of hooligans have down there. Make sure you check it out at collarandelbow.com. And when you purchase something, use the promo code CANCRUSHERS. All one word, capital C in Can, capital C in Crushers. You'll save 10%. Guys, you're listening to us on your favorite podcast outlet right now, but we're on every podcast outlet: Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, Google, iHeartRadio. The list can go on and on. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe, all those cool things. Turn your notifications on as well so you get every episode sent right to your phone or however you listen. So that's pretty cool. Guys, we're always looking. If you're in the business, we're always looking for interviews. We love talking to wrestlers. Hit us up on our socials. We're on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. All of it's at CanCrusher69. Or send us an email, cancrusher69@gmail.com. We'll schedule something. We'll have you on the show. We'll have a little back and forth. We'll find out what makes you tick in the wrestling business. And then I give you a horrible synopsis of who I think you are. I've been getting better. So let's see how I am with Shalonce Royale. I'm not singing again because I don't want to get yelled at twice when she listens to this interview. All right, here comes Al Snow, and he's going to tell you more about Collar and Elbow. When we come back, we'll have Shalonce on the line.
Wrestling. A love and a passion we all share. I've started a wrestling brand. The wrestling brand. A brand founded on the aspects of wrestling. Two entities working together to create a product that connect emotionally for people everywhere. Collar and Elbow is the brand. Passion and love for wrestling is the drive. I am Al Snow, and this is Collar and Elbow, the wrestling brand.
And welcome back to Can Crushers Wrestling Podcast. You heard in the intro the accolades that my guest has coming onto the show this week. She is the Fighting Siren Wrestling's best musical diva, Shalonce Royale. Shalonce, welcome to Can Crushers.
Hi, that's me. Hi.
First and foremost, thank you. I didn't know you were going to do that because we've had musical guests, the wrestlers that also can sing and everything, and they never did that. They never, yeah. And I'm like,
well, they're not Shalonce.
I know they're not. They're not. Two things. We talked a little bit before we went on the air, but I'm going to throw it out the window right off the bat. Do you actually like the word diva? Because that kind of has sometimes a bad connotation with it, you know?
Oh, I love the word, you
Okay.
know, because think about it. I don't associate it with wrestling. You know, I associate it with music. You know, you have like the music divas. You have I could go down the list, but I know this is wrestling.
No, you can go down the list. If you don't start with Mariah Carey, I'm going to punch you through the phone right now.
Of course, Mariah Carey.
Okay.
But, you know, we have like Aretha Franklin, Mariah Carey, Tina Turner, must I say more, Whitney Houston, all these divas that have gone through history. And then there's me. But also, you're always going to be some villain in someone's story, and you're going to be a hero in someone's story. Not everyone's going to like me. Not everyone's going to like you. And with divas, yes, it does have a negative connotation that we go for what we want. I remember listening to like an interview that Nicki Minaj did. And she was saying how, you know, when she was asking nicely for things, people just gave her what they wanted her to have. But when she started, you know, essentially being a bitch and demanding, that's when she started getting the service and the respect that she knew she earned. And so therefore, some people said that she had diva mentality, but she's getting what she wants.
You just spun my whole thoughts on divas now.
Really?
I do. Yeah. Because I was always like, I don't know if they like that, but I do like the way you put it. Good vibes. I like that.
Thank you.
Because I think I always looked at it as the wrestling part being the mark that I am. My mom duly named me. She like knew that I was going to be a mark from day one. This kid's a mark. Just name a mark. So yeah, that's why. And I know the wrestling aspect of it. Do you like it on that side then too?
I mean, it's because I've mainly done music all my life, essentially, that I didn't even see it as negative with wrestling. However, I understand that the diva era has ended.
Yes.
So I can respect if someone tells me, oh, they don't like that in reference to wrestling, because I know what that era entailed. So for that, yes, I completely understand. And I don't refer to myself as a diva in that regard, but I have music in me as well. And I know that I can perform. I can actually sing and beat people up at the same time. So I am a diva, and I know what I am fighting for. I know what I'm earning, and I know that I'm going to go for what Shalonce feels she deserves.
Touche. I love it. You've already got me waving the diva flag for you.
Woohoo!
But last week, I had somebody spitting fire out of their mouth against you in the one of Gemma Jules. She came on. She's going to meet you at the end of May and, you know, pick up another win. Da-da-da-da-da. What's going on there? Yeah.
She didn't win the first time.
Well, she's just already looking ahead.
You know, I admire that she has the tenacity and the drive to come after me. It's just unfortunate that that's going to go to waste because she's not going to get another win. But yes, at the end of this month at MomoCon, she and I will get to go against each other twice more.
See?
So the first time we faced each other, I did get the victory. And she has definitely worked really hard. So I'm interested to see what she's going to do next.
Yeah, MomoCon, that is something that's on our hopper, our bucket list to get down to, since we'll be in and around Atlanta at that time for Can Crushers. So extending the vacation, and I'm excited.
Definitely do so, especially if you like just like the anime culture, game, sci-fi, things like that, and just just to be around people that wrestlers as well.
Right.
So, to be honest, I actually don't know what Momo stands for, and I feel bad because I should, but I just know it's a convention and it's going to be fun.
Conventions are fun within themselves. A couple weeks ago in Pittsburgh, they had the Steel City Con, and Sting and Darby Allin were there, but the lines
Ooh,
the lines were unbelievably long. Met them both before, but the lines were unbelievably long. But it's nice to go up and see people when it was the costume day wearing stuff. They put a lot of time, and I
yeah.
respect that, into their costumes. I'm like, man, I wish I had an ounce of that time to do what you did to make Wonder Woman look amazing, or
Mm.
Root, or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
So let's do a quick rewind, and I know you get that asked this all the time, so we'll hustle through these because it's also on your YouTube channel, which you'll tell everybody about at the end of the show. Who introduced you to professional wrestling? Mom, Uncle Joe, the neighbor John? Who said, "Hey, you need to watch this"?
So I believe the first incident was by accident. I believe my dad or my mom may have had it on a certain station, and Raw, I believe, came. I believe it was Raw, it may have been SmackDown. I was very, very young. I'm not sure. And I remember seeing the Divas belt, actually. So I remember saying, I can do that. I'm going to do that. And then forgot about it after that. Went through school, and I had to have been in elementary school at the time. I just don't remember what age I was. And then I get into high school, and that's when I get the video game. I think it was Raw versus SmackDown '06, I think. But this was after '06. So it was really late getting that game, and I got it on PSP and then got it on the PS2. So I hope I'm really not telling my age. But anyway,
You're
so
not.
okay.
You got it late.
So
You said that could have been last
I
week. Who
did. I
knows?
did. I
Yeah.
got it very late. You
Yeah.
know, I didn't grow up in the richest of homes, so some video games I got when they were well out. You know how PS2 games age. You know, they'll come out at maybe $40, and then a year or two later they're like $9.99, $8.99. So you know,
Still some of the
I
best games though out there.
I know. But yeah, I ended up playing a video game and I fell in love with making a character. Now, keep in mind, I am a gamer, but I am one of those ones that will spend like several hours customizing my character because I have to look good, you know,
Of
to
course
be
you
able to,
do.
like, I have to feel like I look good. Even if I can't see my character, I have to feel like it, you know? So I would just make plenty of female characters, and obviously they had the stock entrances, so you had to take an entrance from someone, and I would do that, and I fell in love with that, and that imprinted wrestling in my head. So
And that's when you actually only had like 4 or 5 outfits to pick from. You could only change a
mhm.
couple colors. Do you
Well, the
have?
PSP version, you could do a lot more. It was almost like having the Sims on like PC.
Oh,
You know, so on the PSP, you could alter like the face, the arms, the hips, the waist. It was so much more detailed, and they had more options to choose from when it came to clothing as well.
I never had the PSP. I was always the console, this, that, and the other thing. My son has now had every gamut from the Atari through. So we have our
Oh,
studio that has everything in it. And my wife's like, "Ah, you two drive me nuts." And I'm like, "Thanks, we love you too." So you are a gamer. Do you have the new WWE 2K that you've created yourself yet?
no, I have not. And but to be honest, I haven't owned a single WWE game since the PSP slash
Really?
what? Yes, really. I know it's surprising, but I haven't.
So what's your big games then that you're gaming?
I'm a big like RPG
Okay.
gamer and fighter. So like I love Tekken for like the fighting game. Tekken is like my all-time favorite. No one can come for me. Anyone who wants to challenge me, my main is Lily. whatever. But yeah, so I love Tekken and RPGs. I love the Final Fantasy series. In particular, my favorite is Final Fantasy 7 and Street Fighter a little bit. But yeah, RPGs and fighting games.
Nice. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. So when you decided to get back on wrestling, when you decided that you were falling in love with the video games and that brought you into wrestling, did you end up then watching more wrestling and get some favorites, or were you just getting your favorites from the game?
I was getting my favorites from the game because I believe at that time I didn't have cable. So, and I was very involved in sports. So I didn't really watch much TV. And then when we finally got TV, wrestling was not even on my mind. It was like, let me catch up on everything I couldn't watch. And it was like the anime and, just different things. But I did soccer, track and field. I was like always gone. And then with music, I was also gone as well. And I didn't start watching wrestling, honestly, until I wanted to do research because I started backyard wrestling. And that's when I started watching wrestling.
And that brings me to my next point, because I did know this. I did know you did some backyard. How does that, and we're fast forwarding through your sports, because like you said, soccer, track and field, you did a ton when you were in school. How does backyard get thrown into the mix when all you know of wrestling is a video game? And I'm not shaming you for that, but I'm just saying, like, that's all you really knew of wrestling. How does this get brought up?
So, so I got introduced to backyard through Facebook. So, long story short, I got into Brazilian Jiu Jitsu and Judo. And there's a whole backstory to how I even got into that. But I ended up commenting on one of my friends' posts that had something to do about martial arts and me saying that I did it or something. And one of their friends saw, and they're like, oh my gosh, you're a female that actually don't mind getting beat up. You should do backyard wrestling. And at the time, I'm like, I just want to get through college because that's already a struggle right now. But however, when I graduate college, I got you. I promise. And I'm actually a person who likes to keep likes to keep their promises. So, after I graduated, I contacted that person and I'm like, hey, I'm interested. Because in my senior year of college, I gained way more weight than I wanted to. So I wanted an excuse to lose weight. And with this backyard wrestling promotion, they were actually doing pretty well. They had a lot of subscribers on YouTube, had a lot of content. So I wanted to look good for YouTube because you just never
know. Right.
When you're going to be the next meme or viral clip or something. So I contacted them, interviewed with them and everything. Like, they took it very seriously, actually. And I went to training with them and I was like, oh, I love this. But I know whenever you're going to dive into something, you need to do your research. And while backyard wrestling didn't have much that you would really want to research, we are trying to emulate what we're seeing from pro wrestling. So that's what I started researching, aka watching and falling in love. And that's when I saw my first match that I seen coming back to the world of wrestling was Asuka versus Ember Moon, NXT before, and it was the last match I believe Asuka did in NXT because she got called up after.
Damn, that was a great match. That was a great match to come back into wrestling for.
It was. And just imagine, like, my first taste of wrestling was that Diva. I just remember seeing that Divas belt because as a kid, I was like, oh, that's so pretty. But we all know what they went through. And then to fast forward and being introduced to women wrestlers that are actually wrestling. I'm not saying that they didn't, but it's a completely different style. They had so much more time. They were able to do so much more. And seeing someone like Ember, not to make it like a race thing, but back in the day, I didn't see that many women of significant color, on TV.
Yeah, right.
And it's Ember and Asuka in like that type of match. It was just incredible. And I'm like, oh, I have to do this. But I didn't move to pro wrestling right after that. But that's what I started watching to get my head in the game for backyard.
Okay. So you've been through both, and I want to talk about both of them sort of kind of Tell me how, and I don't know if I'm one to publicize backyard, but look what it's brought. It's brought Shalonce out, essentially.
Hmm.
What is the training like? Like what do you guys really do for training purposes? And I put that training in air quotes. I'm sorry if I'm gonna give that a backhanded a little bit, but it's essentially like you said. It's emulating what you see on TV, not real training.
Well, I can't speak for all backyard promotions, but the one that I was in is called GWC Intensity, and they actually try to care about at least the intro to wrestling.
Okay.
They wanted me to understand, like, this is real. You can get hurt, and there are some guys that had a little bit of training, so they were sharing what they learned with us. But because they created storylines and they had, like, actually I think GWC Intensity is the longest running backyard wrestling promotion I
That's
think
one I've
ever.
actually heard of.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's one I've actually heard of besides Bob's Wrestling on North Broad Street in Ridgeway or something like that.
right.
Yeah, and that's the only
So it's
one.
one
That's
of
why I say that some of them a lot of them get a bad rep.
and backyard, I'm not here to defend it because I know why it gets a bad rep. But I just know when I got introduced, they wanted me to know, like, hey, this is what this is. So if this is what you can't do, don't waste our time, because there are people that will think like, oh, I'm gonna get famous here, I'm gonna do whatever I want. They write them into storylines, they bump a couple of times, they're like, oh, never mind, this isn't for me. And now they have to write around the whole thing. And
Right.
because they were really serious about their production, they didn't want someone to be there for 4 seconds. So the training that they had us go through, or at least me, I ran the ropes. They taught me how to bump, kind of, sort of. They taught me, like how to headlock, the things that you would normally spend probably the first few months doing, depending on your wrestling school. I kind of got the crash course within a day or two, but I am a fast learner. So they did move fast with me. But yeah, they just want to make sure that you know how to bump and you know how to run the ropes, and that you don't actually kill people when you hit them. And that was the tough part, because I was coming in with jujitsu training and judo.
You
So
could
when
kill
I'm putting,
somebody.
yes, I was literally putting triangle chokes on people and was like, haha, this is fun. And they're like, I'm like, this is great. And they can't breathe.
Right. Legit tapping out because they're dying in the ring.
Right. Knowing I wasn't supposed to win.
Yeah, that's not supposed to happen. So you transition from backyard into professional wrestling, and how does that? Was it the next step saying, "All right, I love it this much that I know," or did you go to a show and run into somebody, and they kind of knew about you? How did that all happen?
So that's when, like, for me, kind of like the dark side of backyard wrestling started setting in, because, I had just graduated college. I ended up getting me like a little job. I wanted to go ahead and be on my own. And I'm realizing that essentially I'm playing around in someone's backyard with my life and health, and I don't have any extra money for it. And
Or
not
insurance,
that I was
probably,
doing,
right?
sorry,
Or insurance, probably, right?
I think at the time I did,
Okay, yeah. Sometimes,
but
yeah. Okay, sorry.
I don't know if it was like the good insurance that was going to cover that, or was it just covering the bases. But I was essentially gambling with I'm doing that now, but you know, life was starting to look a little bit different for me. And so when I would go out there to train and to wrestle, I really wanted to learn. I'm like, look, I'm not trying to waste any time anymore. I really want to learn this, because I think I want to take it to the next level at some point, or I want to look good to people. Because looking back at some of the footage, and it's still up there, but when I would look at some of the clips of me training and stuff, I'm like, this doesn't look good. Like, this is not Oscar. Now, granted, I understand why it's not Oscar. I mean, she's been doing it for years. But me looking at myself, I'm like, this doesn't look great. Like, someone's gonna laugh at this. Um, so I started expressing my frustrations with some of the guys, and that's when it was revealed that, my character in that backyard wrestling promotion They wanted me to look like a rookie. They didn't want me to
Oh, that's a bummer from the
instantly.
get though. Then, yeah.
Yeah, but they wanted it to be authentic. So chances are what you're seeing on camera is really authentic. And they wanted me to learn slowly. So people kind of would document me actually growing. So it was really real. Like I really didn't know what I was doing. It wasn't me acting. I was literally doing what I thought I knew and what they were teaching me, but they weren't teaching me everything. So I got really frustrated because I'm like, I could hurt somebody. I could hurt myself. I want to know how to do it the right way so that way I can, act. And they were like, sure. And then later I found out that, usually when people get a taste of like what it's really like to wrestle, they leave backyard wrestling and go to pro wrestling. And they just didn't want me to get like a big head or, forget the group and try to go into business for myself. And I understand that because that's happened to them. So one of the guys saw my frustration and he's like, hey, I actually train up at this school. You should just come one day. I guarantee you'll love it. And then you can figure out what you want to do from there. And so I think his name is Renegade. He goes by Renegade Enforcer.
Okay.
He was training at the time it was called One Fall Power Factory. Now it's called the Nightmare Factory.
Yeah, now it's something really special. Yeah, not that it wasn't special then, but now
It was definitely special then, but
now there's a little more accolade on it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, well, before, I thought it was a big thing because, Glacier and QT was running it. And I remember Glacier because as a gamer,
He was
I thought he was Sub-Zero. Like, you couldn't tell me otherwise until, I got older and realized, like, oh, no. But, that's the WCW version of
Sub-Zero. Exactly.
So I was like, oh, my gosh, this guy is awesome. But I went up there one night, or it may have been a Saturday morning, whatever. I tried to keep my promises, and I kept telling him, I'm gonna come up there. I did, and he was right. I fell in love with it. It's the first pro wrestling school that I ever went to. QT was super patient, and it was just him there that day teaching quite a few of us. And he knew that I came from backyard wrestling, and I knew that he had certain perceptions about it. I mean, it's a thing, but he didn't judge me. He let me try. He was kind of impressed a little bit that I actually knew some things, just had to fine tune some things. And I pulled him aside at the end of training and I said, hey, do you really think that I can do this? And he was like, yeah, if you stick to it, yeah. I'm like, are you sure? He was like, yeah, it's not just like about the money or anything. Like, I really think you can do this. And at that point, I lived about like 2 hours away.
Wow.
I drive 2 hours to training, 2 hours back, twice a week, sometimes three times a week if I could. And I think QT really respected that, because it wasn't easy for me to get there. I had a crappy car at the time. I was working a job where I was working 40 hours a week, but I had those 4 10-hour shifts back to back. And that's when I realized I really love it. And I didn't go to any other school. I just knew that was the place for me.
Yeah, that gut instinct walking in and you just know. You know that you know. That old saying,
Mm-hmm.
you know that that's where you're supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Racking up a lot of miles. Say 3 times a week, 2 hours in a car. Holy moly. Tons of oil changes.
So that was 4 hours.
That poor car.
Yeah. Ooh.
So you're there at the Nightmare Factory, essentially, so everybody knows instead of looking at anything else. You're there at the Nightmare Factory. How long before QT says, okay, you can have a match? Or Glacier, or whoever your main was.
He told me that I was ready probably sooner than I actually had the match. It just depended on the opponent,
Right.
But I don't remember. I think like I said, I think he told me earlier on before, because he would have practice matches with me. And he was like, hey, as long as you have someone to lead you, you could have a match soon on. I was the one that decided to wait almost a whole year. Or I think it was actually a year and some days before I had my first wrestling match.
Why? And I know it's a simple question. Did you want to like handpick your opponent, or was it you just I don't didn't feel ready, but you were ready, but you just didn't feel it yet?
I didn't feel it. I didn't have the confidence because I felt like there was just so much I didn't know.
That's
I
baloney. Shalonce
I
without confidence is all right. Get ready. Here comes the first swear word of the episode. Is me throwing shit against the wall. I don't believe it.
well, so you're right because when I debuted, I wasn't Shalonce.
I know, but this is who you are now, and
It's who
that's
I am
always been
now.
in there.
It's been always in there a little bit. Just had to like, cook a little bit, like she the quarantine I say was kind of like a cocoon. It was a cage for a lot of people. It was cocoon for me because the world finally stopped. You know how sometimes you're just like, oh my gosh, I just wish things would stop so I can get my life together because it's like constantly falling apart. Like my life felt like I was trying to carry water in my hands.
45 years, dear. I've been doing that for 45
So
years.
So when the pandemic happened, I was like, oh my gosh, I guess I need to be careful what I pray for because now I have it. In fact, the entire world is stopping and going through some horrible stuff. So during that time, I I did a lot of inner dialogue because that came right after I had a few showings on AEW
Right.
and then nothing. So I'm just like, why am I not hearing anything? Like, what's going on? And then when I go back and look at like my first Dark episode and the battle royale that I was in and stuff, I'm like, I didn't really stand out. Nowadays you have to stand out. So what do I need to do? And I know I'm jumping all over the place, so I'll get back to that. But needless to say, I just thought about my time when I was in South Korea, and that's where the name Shalonce came from. Because I had like honey blonde hair and sometimes they'll point at me and they'll say Beyonce and they know I'm not Beyonce, but I guess they're trying to say I'm pretty like Beyonce or something. So I just took that. And one of the friends there, when we were going to like some club, they were like, yeah, make way for Shalonce. And it just stuck. And I remember having the best time of my life, feeling the most confident ever. And that's when I'm like, Shalonce has to come back out.
Nice.
So, but rewind, I was not confident at the time. I didn't want to let QT or Glacier down. I'm keep in mind my brain is still classical world focused.
Right.
And you have your coaches, your vocal coaches, or your vocal mentors, your teachers, however, and wherever you go, their name is attached to you because people are going to want to know, where did you study? Who's your voice teacher? Things like that. So the last thing you want to do is go out there sounding like, the seagull from The Little Mermaid or Scuttle, whatever his name, whatever he was. Yeah. You don't want to go sound like them and say, oh yeah, this is my teacher, because they might want to not have you on as a reference or things like that. So with QT, I didn't want to go out there and look ridiculous and have him have to think about the option of claiming me. So I just wasn't confident.
I understand that. So a lot to unpack there. So let me start first by asking you this question. Found out that Shalonce was born in Korea, which is awesome. That I did not know. That's amazing. Yeah. But I want to ask you, and pause for a second, who is Shalonce then? Okay? And then I watched some of your tape of some of your matches and everything, and I take 3 wrestlers and compare them. So let me tell you mine first, and then tell me overall who Shalonce is. Of course, you have to get Jillian Hall all the time, right? You have to.
Yes,
you do.
I do.
The second one, you've actually brought up her name, Ember Moon. I clearly see Ember Moon in you with the somersaults and the elbows and the moveset. Yes, but you're also a badass. So I throw jazz in there as well. So those are my three comparison. How close am I?
I love it. There's one person you left out.
Well, Oscar then, since you said her 5 million times, right?
No,
Okay.
no, a little bit in the beginning, but it's changed. But I think a lot of like the scrappiness that I get, or like some like the in-ring cockiness, comes from Sasha.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I do see that now. I usually only do 3, and I had to throw Jillian as a kind of the joke one. I'm sure you get that all the time because she did her thing. Yeah.
I hear people say, oh, she's a Jillian wannabe.
No,
or they'll say,
no. Nothing against Jillian. She had her own thing, but you can sang.
Right. Like we're in 2 different lanes. We're in the music realm, but we have 2 different lanes, you know? Because the thing is, it's like, I know I can sing. I will sing. I will keep singing. And I can sing a variety of genres, not just opera. But that just happens to be my bread and butter.
Well, the national anthem is also your bread and butter as well, right?
Yeah,
Mrs. AEW.
Thank you. Yes. So about that, I want a redo because singing a national anthem, that's a difficult song. And I'm more comfortable in the realm of opera. And I sang it in a contemporary style I like. But I didn't do it as well as I could have. And that's because I was in my head. I've performed in front of a lot of people before, but there's something different about stepping out on stage and you're realizing that not only do you have to worry about this stadium full of people, 10,000 plus people.
Right.
But they have this camera in front of you, which reminds you that there's probably an infinite amount of people
watching at home.
This, like, watching at home from the comfort of their home, and it's in your face. And now you're thinking about your makeup, your wig, your teeth, your pronunciation, all this stuff. And I want to retreat and go and sing it how I want to, but I'm like, oof, this is not how I sang it for them. And this is the version that's approved. So I need to sing it that way. And I was nervous and I choked. So it wasn't as great as I think it could be. And my voice cracked because the pyro shook me, because when I rehearsed, there wasn't pyro. And then when I hit the Rocket's Red Glare, the pyro went off. And I was like, oh my gosh, my wig. I don't want to be Michael Jackson. And I like freaked out. And my voice cracked a little bit after. So I was like, oh my gosh, get your head in the game, Shalonce.
So you need to talk to QT and say, hey, redo. I need a redo. Double or Nothing's coming up, or All In, All Out's coming up, or something's coming up.
I feel like it's perfect.
Yeah.
Especially now that I've come back to Dark more, I'm like, I'm wrestling's best musical diva. You already have someone that can sing it. And Max Caster can rap it. I mean, I don't know, but utilize the talents that you have.
Yeah. Right in their back pocket. QT, this is shout out to you. This is all on you. Shalonce isn't saying it to get her in trouble, but I am. And you will be tagged in this, so you'll have to at least, I know her. I should listen to this episode. Oh, God, I hate that Mark. He's what he's going to say.
QT is going to be like, I do what I want to do.
Yeah. Another accolade for you is this Dusty Scholarship. First ever person. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Like, tell me about the work that you put in to get that. I know, training, this, that, and the other thing, but how does that come about?
So that was within like my first year of training. And I didn't expect to win. It was like a 2-day camp. I think a 2-day or 3-day camp. I think it was 2 days. And I just participated. Honestly, I had the basics down at the time. And I just, like I said, I participated. I was so new. There were people there that had wrestled longer than I think me and Anna Jay probably had the least amount of experience of all the people there. Because
Wow.
Anna Jay and I started around the same time. So we were just happy to be involved. And
Poor
like we
Anna
really were.
Jay. We're just happy to be here.
We
Ta-da.
were just happy to be there. There might have been one guy that was like training for maybe like a couple of months on it, actually, because I think he is who I had a practice match with. They put me against him, and we both were like brand spanking new. So you can only imagine how that match went. But it was fun, and we didn't die. That's all that matters. But they just you got critiqued on like promo. So it was Kevin Kelly
Okay.
who
Yep.
taught promo class, and it was Tom Pritchard and Les Thatcher that judged like the wrestling.
Wow.
And
That's a
I
who's who to
think,
be in front of. Or your
yes,
nerves had to be inside yourself.
I was not nervous, but it was because I didn't know the importance of these people at the time. Like I knew they were important. But remember, I didn't watch wrestling growing up. I knew of it. I researched it a little bit. I knew who these men were and their importance, but you know, I'm just like, oh, they're accomplished people in wrestling and they're looking at me. So yes, I was a little bit nervous as just a person in general, but I didn't go in with the expectation to win. So I didn't feel like I had anything to lose. And so I just had fun. And QT was like, just enjoy it, because QT knew I was brand spanking new too, and the chances were slim, but also the chances were high because they were picking a female recipient and a male recipient. And he knows in wrestling, you don't know what's going to happen. But he encouraged us to participate in these things because even if you don't win, you have these people that have a well of knowledge for the business that you're trying to be in. So they
Networking.
have,
Yep.
yes. And even with that, they just have information that you can use. I learned a lot. I talked with them all, and I learned a lot that I didn't know. I had to open my eyes to certain things that I didn't want to open my eyes to. And it wasn't bad, but again, brand new into the business, into a business that has a lot of layers. And all I was doing was just having fun in the ring and doing what they told me to do. That's a small percentage of this business.
That sounds awesome, though. It really does. And you've been on Dark 1.5 million times, I think, and we're on episode, 300 maybe, I don't know, rounding. But I mean, you've been on you've been on a lot of Darks. You did take a little break, but you were on a lot of Darks. And then you roll out, and you're in the first ever Casino Battle Royal as well. So I want to know some of those stories, and I have a really stupid question at the end when you're done.
Okay. So that was the first time that I think I got choked up, because I got choked up. I realized the magnitude of the opportunities that I was given, honestly. And I say that because, yes, I do feel like I worked hard, and I earned them. Like, it's not like they were just handed out like candy.
Right.
But didn't understand, and I guess until then, like, there's sometimes people who are in this business for 20 years and never get to wrestle on a national platform.
I know a few of them in the Pittsburgh organizations. I really do.
Yes.
They're great. They just don't connect here or there or something. Yeah.
Yeah, literally, I learned, I used to say, what is it? Luck is only when preparation meets opportunity. It doesn't mean that it's just by happenstance. I mean, it does happen to some people, but if I couldn't wrestle and the opportunity was presented to me, I still couldn't have the opportunity because I couldn't wrestle. But because I could wrestle and the opportunity was presented, I was able to walk through that door. But I do know that there were a lot of people that were in my circle, like at my school, that had never even done anything like that. And look at me, been in the business for 4 seconds, barely know the men's name in the locker room, let alone the women's. And I have an opportunity like that. And it wasn't till I got there and Cody told me that I could post go ahead and post me that, because I didn't. It is, not everyone was revealed at the time who was going to be there, and I knew I was the least significant person that was booked in that. Like, no one really knew who I was. So when I officially posted it and started hearing the response of people, I was like, oh my gosh. And talking to some of the girls, like actually seeing them face to face, girls whose matches I watched for practice, to get move ideas, and so they're in the ring. Like, Jazz is in the ring. Like, I'm standing in the same ring as Jazz and Awesome Kong and
Yeah.
Mercedes. Like, and at the time I was huge on Big Swole too. Like, I love her. Like, she talked to me and schooled me a little bit on the things that I didn't know. She took time to talk to me and explain, like, hey, this is what you should look for when you get bookings. As a woman in this business, also look out for this. This is what you should do. Like, she didn't have to say any of that to me. For all, she could have treated me like competition and not said anything to me. And all the girls were nice. They spoke, I didn't have bad blood with anybody there. And we all realized that we were making history. Like, why be mad? We were making history.
Yeah. That just gave me goosebumps hearing it from somebody that was in that match, because it was history. And I have not spoken to anybody about that. And that's, yeah, it's the chills. It's the chills to know that, and know that there still are, and there's a question later on down the line that will kind of get back to this, that there still are good people that want to make sure the person that's in wrestling 4 seconds is the future, and they want to take care of them. Have it by, showing the moves or the networking or taking care of them in the locker room because it's the first time in the locker room. There are great people in wrestling. There are.
Yes.
Still. All right, let's take a break from wrestling for a second and talk some random... Oh, no, that's what I wanted to know first. Where did you have the better spread? Is the better spread in catering on a pay-per-view or the million times that you've been on Dark? Because I'm a garbage man. I like to eat food.
I think the best time I'm the wrong person to ask, because, like, if I know that I'm working, I don't eat much. But I'll never forget, there was this one Jacksonville taping, and I think there was a pay-per-view that week. It was something, because I know we were there 2 days. But either way, it was a Jacksonville taping, and they had amazing food at this catering. All I remember is the ribs. I usually don't like to eat ribs in front of people, but I didn't care that day.
Because you get messy? Is that your big thing too? Yeah. I hate that.
I would get messy. Oh. I like to be intimate with my food, so,
Yeah.
But I took some home. It was great. So I think, like, TV tapings may probably have the best food.
Wow. Over pay-per-views. That shocks me. Okay.
Well, keep in mind, I've only been there for, like, a couple pay-per-views. And the ones that I was at, it was, like, catered, I think, by Cracker Barrel, I believe.
Well, there's nothing wrong with Cracker Barrel, though, either.
Nothing's wrong with it, but I can literally just drive up the street and go dine at Cracker Barrel. But I don't know who decided to put their whole love and soul, like their ancestors came down to cook those ribs. Or I could have just been really... I'm not sure. Like, it was so good. But AEW, by far, I feel like just has amazing catering all the way around. But it was just that particular taping. Those ribs spoke to my soul, and I definitely answered.
Okay. All right. Now to the stupid stuff. If you listen to any podcast, you know that in the Discord, there's always people wanting to know. And this started from a few indie wrestlers in Oklahoma, and I don't understand why this has continued, but I continue it now. What's your favorite cereal?
I feel like I have one. What's my favorite cereal? It depends. I feel like the older I get, the more it changes. I guess if I had to, like, go to the store and get one, I like Honey Bunches of Oats, like with, like, the pecan clusters.
Decent cereal. Yep, that's. I do have to agree with your opponent here in the near future. Gemma, I'm a Fruity Pebble guy, But any of the honey bunches of oats, with the strawberries or the peaches or blueberries, are like a second fallback. When I want to pretend to eat healthy in the morning, I will go with honey bunch of oats. So yes, but I don't care really what your cereal is. Tell me how you make your cereal. Are you a sociopath or not?
It depends if I
You are
want
a
to hurt
sociopath. You already
someone.
are answering this with you're
Well, I
prefacing it.
don't like. I like to have my cereal in, and then I pour the milk. But if I'm not gonna lie, if I know that I'm about to dine with someone who will be deeply disturbed by it, and I don't care about their feelings that day, I will disturb them. So in other words, don't upset me, or else I will do my best to make sure I upset you.
Oh, touche. Touche. All right, silly questions. I want to know, in the wrestling business, who you would like to do a duet with.
Oh, that's easy. MJF.
Okay. Good. Good. You want to do that same dance him and Jericho did too, then?
Um, we can remix it a little bit.
Okay. Outside of the wrestling business, you're going to, release a CD or whatever. Who are you picking?
Ooh, like everybody. So if I could have people, so I would like to do a song with Ellie Goulding, Lindsey Sterling, Megan the Stallion. What's the lead singer's name from One Republic? I believe Ryan Tedder, is that what it is?
I think. Yeah, I know who you mean. Yeah. I'm horrible with musicians' names. So I was hoping you were just going to bring a gamut of them. And you are. So that's good.
Yeah, like I think his name is Ryan. Tokyo Hotel. I don't know if many people know about them. And also, I am a big K-pop fan, so I would like to do some with ITZY, Blackpink, NCT, Stray Kids. My K-pop lovers, they'll know who I'm talking about. They'll know.
Okay.
Jackson Wang. So the list goes on.
You're having a full album then. 20 songs, both sides.
Oh,
right?
Multiple albums.
Multiple albums. Okay. All right. And now you have to pick a backup. So do you want DX as your backup or the NWO? And we're talking about the first four members of both of them, not the millions and millions. And do you even know who both of these groups are? Because you just got into wrestling last week. I'm kidding.
You said the NWO and who else?
DX.
Oh, that's a tough one. Because I do know who they are.
I know you do. I know, I was kidding.
But I'm just a huge fan of China.
But China's in the first. Yeah, you can say China for sure. So I would go DX. I think they could sing better than Hogan, Nash, and Hall.
And they all had great hair. I'm just kidding. Most of them had great hair, at least at that time. Yeah, I think I'll go DX.
Okay. All right. So that's that. You also worked with the NWA recently. We're back on wrestling now, by the way. You worked with the NWA recently, and you had a hell of a match with Camille.
Yes.
How was that? Because, they're completely, and it's not a shot, because I love what the NWA is doing. Getting back, continuing to build, and all of this. I love what they're doing. I love the whole studio thing, but I also am a mark for AEW, so I'm not slapping any of them. But two different entities. How was it going to NWA?
So I didn't actually go to NWA. NWA kind of came to me.
Essentially, yeah, they're traveling now.
Well, Camille did. So I was wrestling at close to my hometown, but in Warner Robins, Georgia. They decided to allow Camille to defend her title there. So these are like my people. This is close to my hometown. So it was very emotional. And Camille is incredible. In my opinion, she's an incredible athlete. She's not someone to be taken lightly, but I'm so glad that I was able to have that moment with a meal.
Yeah.
It was, I don't know, it kind of makes me emotional thinking about it here because she didn't have to do that. She could have been like, who are you? And NWA was super supportive of it. I hope to do more work with them in the future. I hope like they saw that and could see potential. But it was great. It was really great, and people really showed up and showed out for it. Like sometimes in this business it's really hard to see the support you have because you have fans that don't really know you, but they at least like you. And then you have your colleagues, but at the end of the day, your colleagues can also be your competitors the next day. And you have business. It's a business all the time. It's a business. So it's so easy to get tunnel vision. And then when you go to a place that's basically your hometown and people are showing up to support you that don't live there, they don't live close, but they're driving to come see you go for a title that have that significance, it does a lot for you.
For your comment, you're getting choked up a little bit right there, aren't you?
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love your passion. You can hear it in your voice. I really do. You let your emotions out, so thank you for that.
That's me. I'm
You're
super emotional.
you're also on the road all over the place. You get to work with the Belladonna division. You're actually on the road as we're recording. It's going to be Saturday, so last Saturday, folks. You had a match, but you've been there a couple times with Belladonna, right?
Oh, I was there from the beginning.
Yeah. That's what I mean, a couple times. I was that air quote couple times again. You've been there
Yeah.
forever. Yeah.
A lot of times. Yeah. When it started so the Belladonna division is out of, well, I guess I could say out of Alabama. That's where we did the most shows, but we have matches in different promotions as well. So currently I am the IWA Belladonna division women's champion. So that's the belt at IWA, but the Belladonna ladies are the women's matches there.
Right.
So the Belladonna division itself has a title, which is being held currently by Cassandra Golden, which she will be defending that against Kylan King. And I have the IWA, which is in Mount Vernon, which we will be having the show, and I will be defending it against Ray Lynn.
Again, guys, that happened last Saturday, but it'll be on Fight on the 30th because I checked prior to this interview to talk more about it, but we can't. So we'll get to it, and we'll maybe do a recap on the 31st or May 1st because there's no 31 days in April, Mark. Essentially, but yeah, make sure you go to Fight, make sure you buy that and all of that cool stuff so you can see Shalonce battle one of Can Crusher's favorites. That's the downfall. She is our homegirl. She's from Pittsburgh. She's on my sleeve tattoo. Raylan and I are close. I can't wait to see it. I'm not picking a favorite right now. I don't want to cause hate.
I get it, I completely understand, but as long as you can acknowledge that Shalonce is also amazing, I'll take that.
Shalonce is also amazing. Shalonce sang for me at the beginning, and hopefully Shalonce sings more.
Let me know.
Can you look back on yourself? The deeper questions are coming now. Can you look back on yourself playing the video games thinking now, man, this is going to be me one day. This is going to be me.
Oof, back then I had no clue. I was still thinking that I was going to make my own anime and be this creative being and live in Japan and marry a Japanese guy and worry about whether or not my family would accept. Like, you see, I had a whole different road that I planned out at that time. I don't know why I was so dramatic at that time, but I was very dramatic. I created a whole bunch of drama and tension between this guy that I've never met and my family, and none of this has happened, by the way. But I had no idea that I would be a wrestler. at all.
Wow. So you built your own little world in your head. That within itself is like, okay. But does it still bring awe, though? Like, you can say, damn, I did it? At least getting past that weird little story?
When I am speaking to fans, like younger fans or people that are debating what they want to do, like they have something they want to do, but they're trying to decipher whether they should do that or do what they need to do, that's when it hits me because I feel like I'm talking to me or I'm reliving all this. So, or when I'm watching anime to de-stress or something, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like a real life superhero to someone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I had a little girl message me on Facebook, I believe, and she was being bullied. So she was asking me how to deal with bullies and would I speak to them and stuff. You know, like obviously I can't like come and beat up these kids, but you know,
You'd
if I
like
was
to,
near,
though. You'd like to.
I like to. I'd be like, look, little Timmy, but you know, I if I lived near her, who knows? I probably would pop up and be like, hey. But the fact that I'm important enough to her, and she thought of me for advice. I don't. She doesn't know me personally. I don't know her, but in my advice to her mattered, and she said because of me, she was able to finish out the school year. You
That's
know,
awesome.
that does something to you, and that's when I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm really doing this. Oh my gosh, I'm really out here putting on, like, leaving my heart out there on the campus, just like I do on the stage. And it's mattering. And soon after I got past the weird fantasy mind that I had, I mean, I still have like a big, big imagination and fantasy. But once I got past that little phase in high school, I wanted my mission statement, that's what it is, was to make a difference in at least one person's life. So every time that happens where someone is coming to me for advice or they tell me, oh my gosh, they love my wrestling or it made their day that I said hi or I sent them a cameo or I like their status, little old me, you know, that's when I'm just like, I did it. Thank you. I'm so happy.
I'll say the same thing I said on Gemma's. It's amazing what being a nice person can do, right? Because there's a lot of assholes out in the world. But just being
Yeah.
yourself, being a nice person is really cool. You get those kids. Like you said, your mission statement was to one person. You did. You did
Yeah.
now. I mean, now I hope you never stop or rechange your mission statement at all. But I hope you continue because there are going to be people out there that continue to come for advice. Which rolls me into my next question.
Mhm.
You have, little Timmy, little Joan, or anybody that comes up and says, Shalonce, I want to get into professional wrestling. I want to be like you when I grow up. What do you tell them?
The first thing I'll say is be like you because my path is my path, but you have to figure out what you want to do. So, okay, yes, you want to be a pro wrestler. I'll ask them, what else? What else do you want to be? And not to say to have a backup, but sometimes you need something. How do I explain this? Especially to a little kid. I think I would say to a little kid, I would say, I can help you. I give you advice, but tell me what else you want to do. And depending on their answer, I'm going to integrate it. So let's just say they're like me. Let's just say I also want to be a singer. And I'm like, okay, so make sure you go to school. Make sure you do the very best that you can. Like go for A's. Don't just settle for B's. Now don't get depressed over B's, but go for A's. Keep pushing yourself and also rewarding yourself when you do that, but don't stop pushing yourself to be the best that you can be because you're going to need that foundation because you're going to have to keep pushing yourself to be the best you can be during wrestling because that's tough. And then let's say that like with music, be the best that you can be with music. Learn everything that you can. Or don't learn everything you can about it, but if it's your passion, enjoy it, because you're going to need an outlet for those nights that you're not sure you're going to want to wrestle again. And I know they may not understand that right then, but they're going to understand it when they get older. Because for me, sometimes wrestling really gets me down, like the business. It's not always an overnight sensation thing for wrestling, just like with music.
Right.
But because music is also a passion, sometimes singing makes me feel better. And or gaming or finding other outlets that I'm passionate about, like writing. I write. And sometimes that helps me get out my frustration to where I vented it, and now I can go back to the wrestling ring, or now I can go back to training. But that's just my personal opinion. You know, I do feel that if you wanna go for it, go balls to the wall for it. But if I could go back and change things, I would try a little bit harder to instill a little bit more of that perseverance in me so that I wouldn't be struggling so much now.
Into ourselves. Yeah, it's awesome that we can give people great advice, and it was great advice. I wholeheartedly believe people should live by that. You know, push yourself and have a couple different outlets. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
We can give advice. We're horrible at accepting our own advice because we can't take it because we know ourselves too much. So we're like, I know what I'm doing. I don't need advice from myself. Or you look nuts talking to yourself. Either one.
But sometimes I do. It's like now I can see a lot. Like I can see why certain things were screamed at me to do or to not do, because it can play into your, adult life or early adult life. And it can spill over into the things that you really want to do. And people talk about the glitz and glam, or they talk about the good stuff like, don't, go to school and make sure that you never give up, and make sure that, you have a support system, and that it's a great business and you get to do what you love, you get to travel. But people don't talk about, the tough times. And that some of those things that you skip through in your earlier years, those lessons that you don't learn, will make those tough times harder.
Yep.
So like for me, to be candid, I struggled with eating disorders. I struggled with relationship with food. And younger, it didn't get caught because I didn't have the obvious, I wasn't anorexic, nor was I fully bulimic either. So I just somehow went under the radar. But if I didn't, like, now that I've addressed those issues and addressed what they stem from, I can combat it. But because I didn't deal with it in my younger years, it was a major issue, and I still struggle with some things today. But people don't tell you about that, or self-image. When I mentioned that I didn't have confidence when I first started wrestling, I was a girl that was raised in a Pentecostal church in the Bible Belt in the South, who, in the Pentecostal teachings teach you that you shouldn't wear pants. You shouldn't, there's a lot of stuff that you shouldn't wear. You shouldn't reveal your body. You shouldn't do a lot of things. And knowing my mother still has that faith. And I was nervous because, I look at a lot of the female wrestlers and I see the outfits that they wear. And I struggled because I felt like I wasn't being received with my earlier playing gear. And I was struggling with my image and, like your sexuality in it, and your validation and things like that. And when you feel like people aren't booking you, but they book this girl that looks amazing and she can't wrestle, you start to think. So my thing to people who want to get in business like this in general, the entertainment business, is you need to build a foundation of who you are. Now, you're not going to know who you are right off the bat. You're going to go through your whole life forming who you are. But you need to have some sort of basis in yourself so that way you're not easily shaken with things like that. Because I think those that are really successful learn to not give a care about, because I don't know what you can say on this podcast.
You can say whatever you want. Yep.
Okay. To not care about what people think and do you, because those are the people that I see successful walking down that ramp. or getting those tryouts and succeeding and doing whatever, because they love themselves enough to give themselves the best, meaning to give themselves the best opportunity, which means to put themselves in the best place to be there. Oh, I can go on all and all day. But at the end of the day, anyone that wants to do this business, you got to have the foundations within yourself, then get the foundations within wrestling, and remember that you are worthy and you should give yourself a chance.
So, to put a ribbon on this, we're not done. I have a couple more questions. I'm sorry I'm holding you longer.
No, this is fine. I'm the one that's talking forever.
No, that's okay. I love it. So to put a ribbon on what you just said, all the way back to the beginning, and I made reference to that diva, and you brought up Nicki Minaj getting things, and then until she says, I'm effing taking that, exactly what you just said. See how I know how to wrap it back around. I'm learning.
Yep.
Yeah. Boom. Yeah. See that? It's exactly what you need to do. You have to do that. And that's the best way to live life. It's not just ho-hum strug through. Go out and take it. That's ask for forgiveness later. Screw it.
Yeah, because a lot of times people aren't just going to ask you how you feel or ask you what you want. You know, that happens with some people, but just go ahead and assume it's not you. And just know, like, hey, to put myself in this situation, I need to go to this school. I need to hit the gym this amount of times. I need to actually listen to the meal prep that's giving me. I need to do these things because they just might get me where I want to go. Worst thing is you don't succeed in that moment. But I like to believe, and I don't know this for sure because I feel like there are a lot of people that have done these things and they don't have those opportunities. But I just say, know what ifs. Like, I don't know what everyone's story is as to why, but I just say, know what ifs. You don't want, I listened to, I forgot who it was, but it's this guy he's a motivational speaker, but his job is he helps people die. And in other words, he doesn't kill them, but he's there in the last days with them. And he says he hears a lot of last regrets and things that people have. And he says no one says, oh, I wish I didn't spend that money, or I wish I didn't, unless it led to a bad decision. Most people say they wish or they regret not taking certain chances, like not asking a certain person to marry them, not moving to a certain place for this opportunity, not taking, their dream job, opportunities that have connections with things. They're not talking about cars, or they're not talking about food. They're not talking about buildings and money. They're talking about connections with people and opportunities that were lost.
Yeah.
We're alone.
When you find that, I'm going to ask you to do some homework for me. When you find that, will you please text that to me? I'd love to listen to this guy.
Okay.
I really would. Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I cut you off. If you were...
No. I was just going to wrap that up by saying, we're alive and we have these opportunities. Now, it sucks. And I'm talking to myself, too, because life is not pretty all the time. But as long as there's life, there's hope. We just have to make the effort.
Yeah. There's one song that you just popped in my head was my mom always listened to, and I have to change it a little bit. It was Alabama, the country band. They sang the song "No Bad Days." As long as you have this and that and this and that, and it all that just wrapped into my head right now. My mom always listened to it before she passed. I didn't know no bad days. I didn't have any bad days. I have you, your brother, I have my family, I have this, I have that. I had no bad days. Besides me being a complete asshole when I was a kid, that was a bad day for her, I'm sure. But in the scheme of things, we're alive. She did what she wanted to do. She had a family. She, continued, and she made these memories. And that's, to me, that has been instilled on me. Make those memories. Take those chances. Because you only get one time around the sun, right?
Yeah, as far as we know, we only get one.
Yeah.
Now, I know everyone's circumstances are different. And
right.
I'm sure, there's people out there that would love to do a lot of things and just simply don't have the resources and things like that. So I don't want to devalue someone's experience by saying that. But I just don't want people to give up. But I don't want to paint this to be something that is not, like, it's a business. Wrestling is a business.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's so easy to forget that. But you have to be your biggest supporter too, Sometimes I'm the one that's going through pictures, seeing what I need to make 8x10s and 4x6s of. And if I don't like how I look, that's a hard time. That's so hard to choose. I have to figure out my gear. I have to know how to budget. I have to figure out how to get to these shows sometimes and to network, who to talk to, who not to talk to, what to say, what to do. It is a business.
Yeah.
And it's you.
It starts with you first.
It starts with you. You're your product.
Yeah. If you don't network you, oh, well, then there's no you.
Then there's no you.
You brought up mom, and this wasn't on my scheme of things. I usually don't talk about, but how is mom, knowing that, your background, childhood and everything, how is mom with wrestling? Is she a fan, or is she not written you off, but just doesn't come around? Or
So
biggest fan. She's making your gears now.
She will fully be on board when she can meet The Rock. When I can make it happen to her to meet The Rock, she will fully support me.
Until then.
So, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, if you're listening, or if someone can send this clip to him, I'm busting my butt as a professional wrestler. At least I'm trying. And I really want my mom's full support. So if you could, come see my mom. I'm in Georgia. She's a nice Georgia peach. She won't hurt you. She won't do anything. She's old. There's not much she can do. But if you could just, meet her so that way she will fully support my dreams, that would be amazing.
Does mom watch The Young Rock on TV?
No, she doesn't.
Oh, okay.
Not able. She doesn't have any streaming service. She lives like
old school. We'll leave it at that.
Very old school.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it took her a minute to even get there, because she knows that there's so many things that I could do, that I'm capable of doing. And she's just like, why are you choosing the hard routes? Like, she didn't necessarily want me to go into music unless I was going to teach. And then with wrestling, your career could be over with the wrong move taken the wrong way, Yeah. So she's just like, why would you want to do that? And then she's like, why would you want to put yourself out there like that? Why would you want to put your body out there like that? Like, she's not understanding it, but she knows that I'm working hard for it. And she can respect the hustle. But I know deep down she would rather me do something else. But I guess she feels like if I make it enough to where The Rock hears me and decides to say something to my mom or send her a video or something, that's when she's going to accept that I've made it. But until then, I don't think she's going to accept it.
Come on, Rock. Come on. Everybody needs to tag The Rock in this. Take a screenshot of this picture, have it be on Facebook or anything, and tag the hell out of The Rock in this episode. He needs to hear this. Come on, guys. Come on. We have to do this for Shalonce. Even if he doesn't want to meet her, which
even that would be the best if he meets her. But if he can just make a video, it would be great. But apparently she's like, if The Rock listens to you, then apparently you've made something. So yes, we need that, because at the end of the day, I want to make my mom proud, because chances are she's probably, she's up in age and her health isn't that great. So she's, it kind of hurts to say this, but she doesn't travel well. So she's probably not going to see me wrestle live unless I come back to my hometown. Because there's one time she did see me wrestle live, but it was a small show. It was like a small little indie show. But she's probably not going to see me at a AEW Dark or Elevation, or should I get a contract? No, I'm going to claim it when I get a contract.
Yeah, when you're at All In and Revolution and all those. Yes.
unless someone is going to pick her up and take her, like she's not gonna drive, she's not gonna fly, so she's probably not gonna get to see me like live. So to at least have her support would be amazing.
The Rock on his private jet, just swooping her up.
Oh, that she wouldn't know what to do. She would probably ascend at that point. She would be so happy.
Aw. How did your mom fall in love with The Rock? I need to know that. Now I'll ask 2 more questions and I'll give you your spotlight. I'm sorry. How did your mother fall in love with The Rock, not knowing essentially who The Rock was?
I think she knew. I think she knew wrestling because remember, I had to see that wrestling show at like for some reason. Like
Right.
it was my mom or my dad watching it, and I believe it was my mom because she remembers Dusty. That's why she was so happy when I got that award because she remembers Dusty. I believe she remembers Sting, and The Rock. But for some reason, you just cannot tell her that The Rock, and she remembers Ernest the Cat.
Wow.
She's actually got to meet him.
So she's I'm sorry. Shalonce, she's a closet fan. She's
Yeah.
a closet fan. She's lying to your face because you're her little girl and she doesn't want you to get hurt.
She doesn't want me to get
That's
hurt.
it. She's lying to you.
Yeah, she's like the Rock's fan and not mine.
I don't know if I like your mom right now. I'm kidding. I love all moms. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
All right.
I feel it for her, but The Rock, I'm just saying.
Yeah, just make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get to your dream match then. I want to know who it's against, the stipulation, and where you want it. Like
See,
city-wise.
my dream matches
16 times.
change.
Go ahead. Yeah, I know.
It changes. So like, I joked about this, but one time when I was coming out of the locker room getting ready to go to gorilla position, I passed Nyla Rose. Now Nyla and I kind of have like a little history because she was the one that eliminated me
Yep.
in the Battle Royale. She was also in my first dark match when I tagged with Shazza, and she tagged with Leva. Well, never tagging Leva.
Yeah, she was.
So
Leva was there. Yeah.
She was there. She was involved. She was support. And so I passed her and I was just like, you know what? Ready. Hardcore match. Barbed wire. Like electric fence, barbed wire. Let's go.
The backyard's
like,
coming out. The backyard's coming back out.
I'm ready. I will do the electric fence, barbed wire. I forget and I feel so bad. I should know her name. But it was a wrestler. I think she was Asian. I remember her having long hair, and she was like, I think one of the only ones. She was the first to do that. And I think she was Japanese. And she was the first to do like the electric fence type, the electric ropes.
It's at the tip of my tongue. I can't think of it. I know.
I forget, and I feel so bad. But when I saw her do that, I was like, oh, I want to do that. I don't know what's in me that's like, I want to do that. That's what I'm saying. AEW, WWE, you got a crazy girl here. Just hire me and put me in that match. I will do it. I'm channeling my inner Daphne. May she rest in peace.
Aww. No,
yeah,
aww.
I'm ready. I am so ready. So if Nyla and I can get that on AEW, if Nyla was serious, because Nyla could have just been like humoring me, but I'll do it. And if Nyla doesn't want to do that type of match, I would love to do that match with
well, there's 2 other that at the tip of my tongue right now that have stolen St. Patrick's Day the last 2 years. Yeah. Thunder or Britt.
Because they've already been there, done that kind of sort of. Now, I mean, if they want to add the electric fence and everything in it, because especially with Thunder Rosa, I just feel like Thunder Rosa, yes, we would kill it. But I'm trying to think of people who I haven't seen in those situations that I feel would be great in that. Like Jamie Hayter.
Yes, Jamie Hayter would be great.
I feel like we would tear it up like it was like no one's business.
My cousin Mercedes would be great.
Oh yeah. But again, it's the electric fence that deters a lot of people.
I peed on an electric fence one time and it sucks, so I'm done.
So yeah, I think I would love to do that. But if I had to to dial it down from the crazy, a dream match of mine would also be against Charlotte Flair. Doesn't matter like what type of match, just Charlotte Flair or Sasha Banks. And I don't know if she's ever going to wrestle again, AJ Lee.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to see AJ Lee wrestle again, too. At least one more to put the whole bow tie on her career, because she left bad taste in WWE. But, yeah, I'd like to see her one more time. She's involved as well, so maybe we could see something there.
Yeah.
So, all right, this is your time. Tell me anything that I didn't ask you want to bring up. Your socials, sell some merch. Besides this Saturday, where else are you going to be? And all that stuff.
Okay, well, so I slowed up on taking some bookings, but now I'm like getting booked more. I just needed to take a break for a hot second. So yes, on April the 16th, I will be defending my championship against Raylyn at IWA, which is in Mount Vernon, Illinois. On April the 23rd, I believe it's the 23rd, I will be facing quite a few ladies. I know one of them is Teal Piper for the Cannabis Cup in DC at the Cannabis Festival.
Nice.
And that's about, and then at the end of May, on May 7th, I'll be at IWN here in Georgia. May 14th, I'll be in Indiana. And then I believe May 29th and 30th, or it's the 28th and 29th. It's the Friday and Saturday for MomoCon. I will be wrestling. But the best way to keep in touch with that, because I usually post, is on my Instagram, which is Shalonce_Royal. I have a Twitter, which is also Shalonce_Royal. I have a Twitch account, which is Shalonce Royal. I have TikTok. Pretty much any platform, if you type in Shalonce, you'll find me. I have an OnlyFans as well. People don't freak out. I'm not an adult entertainer. I'm a sports entertainer. So take that how you will. I am starting on a new platform soon called True Fans, where people who are truly fans of me and wrestling will be able to, create a community there. But yeah, I think I'm on like every social media platform. I even have YouTube. But I just say, I just always want to give thanks to people who are supporting me, because you don't have to. And I really do appreciate, especially because my gimmick is very unique. You don't see many gimmicks like mine right now in this day and age. And so if you're rocking with me, I truly appreciate you like more than you know. I do have t-shirts on Pro Wrestling Tees. And I'm working on getting more type merch, especially for MomoCon. And I'm thinking I'm going to join like a website where I can sell like multiple things, not just like t-shirts. So, yeah.
Yeah, she's got it all. She really does. If you've not searched Shalonce up, you just have not searched Shalonce up, because she pops up and it's just, here's Twitter, just find her. And she does some wacky stuff on her YouTube as well. You like eating and watching stuff. I don't get that. I don't understand what
I didn't get it either until I found that there was a whole niche for that. And but I haven't done that often. I had like 2 YouTube channels, and apparently it's called mukbangs, and I always wanted to do it, but I don't know. But some people just like to I think some people like actually eat with you.
I'm sure they do.
Talk and stuff, and it's weird, but it blew up on my Twitch. I would do that on my Twitch. We would talk about different things. I would bring different wrestlers on, and we'll eat and just talk about wrestling and different stuff. So I'm trying to find where that fits in, fine-tuning it.
Yeah, it's weird to me. Again, we talked about the ribs. Like, I love ribs. I just don't want to eat them in front of people because I'm a messy slob. And yes, I enjoy them, but you don't need to see what's going on all over my face.
Yeah, it's interesting. Definitely.
Shalonce, I had a blast. Thank you for stopping by. Again, it is on May 28th and 29th, MomoCon, and you'll be fighting your best friend, Gemma Jules. It was on last week. So, yeah. I can't wait to see you, meet you. Hopefully it is MomoCon. When we get things squared away with work, or I'll just quit for a week. I don't know. I've done that. No, I have not done that before, but I'll just do it this time.
Do you suspect the cough coming on around that time?
Yeah, for the next month, I would like that cough to come on because there's so many places I want to go.
Well, I really hope you do come down.
Yeah, my wife's all in because she has like 18 weeks of vacation a year, so it's us peons that don't get that much.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Us peons.
So, best of luck in everything. All those matches you have lined up. I will be watching you on Belladonna take on Raylan, and yeah,
Yay!
I can't wait to meet you. Thank you again for stopping by.
Thank you. And I just want to say that this is Shalonce Royale. And if you're not listening to Can Crushers, like, what are you doing? You need to listen. You have to listen.
I'm not going to argue with her. You have to listen to every Can Crusher Spotlight. You get tidbits that you will not find anywhere else. This was an amazing interview. Shalonce, once again, thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for sharing some stuff that I didn't expect to hear. I really didn't. I was enamored. We spoke a little bit after, guys, and I'll pull down the wall. I told her when she was telling me the story about the little girl that texted her or messaged her or whatever and said, "What would you do? Help me," whatever. I got chills. My heart broke for that little girl. And guys, I'm going to, again, revert from not wrestling. She reached out to Shalonce, and Shalonce was her hero, is her hero, and Shalonce will do what she needs to for this little girl to give her the best advice. That's awesome. Again, we spoke about it in the interview, helping one person. That's what it's about, guys. That's what it's about. And you're going to have your ups and downs in life. You're going to have your ins and outs. You have your over and unders and all those stupid analogies that you can come up with. But we heard it back-to-back weeks. It's amazing what you can do if you're just nice. You just are nice. And do the hellos, do the highs, shake the hands. It'll get you so much farther. The hatred is just needs erased, needs cancel culture, or whatever the hell that saying is right now. It all needs to be gone. Guys, it's awesome. Shalonce, once again, thank you for coming on. This was a great interview, one of my favorites. Remember, guys, just because you're trash doesn't mean you can't do great things. It's called a garbage can, not a garbage cannot.